I used to start designing marketing websites the wrong way. I'd basically open up Figma, stare at a blank canvas, start pulling from memory or saving like random screenshots and then hope something clicks for me. And sometimes that would work, but it's very unreliable. There's definitely a better way to do this, and I'm going to show you how you can start the research process and the right way to do the research process before you even start designing. Hi, I'm Ahmed, founder of Fractal Design, and I help founders and product teams build better brands, build better websites, things that actually perform, not just look good. And on this channel, we talk about everything from workflows to design systems and, basically everything that helps us design and build better products. Today, we're going to talk about building marketing websites the right way, starting the right way, especially the research bits. Now, the difference between good performing websites and websites that don't perform just as well isn't necessarily just about design skills. It's also about better research. It's also about better implementation of certain UX patterns. It's about studying real user experience patterns that works from actual websites that are out there and, basically guessing less, relying less on your personal taste. And don't get me wrong, it is very, very important for you to have your own personal taste because that's what's going to help polish the final website. But I'm talking about not basing the whole thing on personal taste or just basic guesswork. So here's the problem. When we open up Figma from a blank canvas and start designing from nothingness, then it's just going to take forever and you usually end up with something that doesn't look good. So you need some sort of inspiration. And the issue with where we might be gathering inspiration, from, which is I'm definitely also guilty of it. I'd open up Pinterest, scroll, try to find something. Oh, this is great. Copy paste it, or maybe Behance. These are platforms. Nothing wrong with them. I still use them. I still love them. I still love to browse. However, these are shots that are basically designed for designers. And I see something that looks cool, and I save it and try to obviously remember the things that look good and start from a very small sample size of things that look good in accordance to my personal taste, and usually just end up with pretty concepts or mock-up images that never really shipped. And at the end of the day, I don't know what really converted and what really worked well for the client and what did not. So these were the issues with, or the problem statement basically. So I'll talk about the research phase first, because I want to focus this video on this specific research phase. I'm going to talk about the whole process, but I'm going to focus on this research phase because it's super important. Because the best way to know, if something works or not is to just go visit the website and see how it works. How's the loading? Is it easy to use? Does it look good? I do not, under any circumstances, start without research anymore. And I'm not inspiration hunting. I'm studying real examples of real marketing websites that are live and converting on the internet right now. And the research problem is obviously very clear. Maybe you could spend hours on Google trying to find something that works for your specific use case, and you try to hunt for good examples and not find, any good examples, and you'd basically land on random sites. Some of them are outdated, and some of them are broken or don't actually perform as well. But there's obviously a better way, which is I'm now using Mobbin for this. This initial research stage is always Mobbin for me. It's a library of curated design patterns from real websites and real applications that then they're not concepts that haven't made it to the internet. They're actually actual production sites. They're live and they've proven to be super well designed and super functional for it to actually end up on their curated list. And that's where I start. It's organized. It's amazing. It's organized by industry, by category. It just saves me hours and helps me get to where I want to get really, really quickly. So let me show you the whole process. All right, so we're starting here with a sample company brief. And obviously when we're working something like this at Effect, what we do is we send across a questionnaire, and from that we understand more about the company, we understand more about their content needs, and we create the content for them, for that specific client. But this is just a very brief or small company brief, just to understand what we're designing for. So here we have a company name that's called Apex, and apparently they're a consultation firm, an AI consultation firm that helps mid-sized companies implement AI. And they don't sell software, they audit the current process, and they identify AI opportunities and implement those solutions for their specific clients with existing tools. So we want to stay away from the SaaS vibe, because I know we're tempted to always go for this vibe whenever we hear AI, but we need to understand what the company does. And in this case, they're a consulting firm. So we need to move more towards the legal, not legal, but in terms of how they look or how they want to present themselves. Maybe we want to stay away from that AI feel, the dark mode, the gradients and all of that. And we have some content brief here, and as well a color palette and a logo. So obviously what we do from here is we go and start our research process. And here's Mobin. This is where I usually start. Is I go into obviously before this the new update, we just had apps, and it's a huge massive list of all of these iOS and web apps. But what's really interesting now is that they have the sites, and the quality of Mobin, so they don't have anything here that that's just here for the sake of it. It's very, very refined taste in websites. So obviously there's a lot of things. There's a lot of sites here that we can take a look at. Let's look at that. Legora is here. Affinity, Superhuman. All right, so we have a bunch of things here, but what I like to do is I like to filter by, obviously we can filter by sections, and we can filter by styles or category. So you know what, just let's pick portfolio for now, because we can actually change this later on. Let's go business, remove portfolio. For styles, we can actually select something. We can go for black and white if we wish to do so. We can go for, so I guess business and black and white is not a thing. What about minimal? Very interesting. We've got some options here. I quite like this field here. But let's just go hero section. Let's start with hero section. All right, so we have things like this. I quite like this. This feels a lot like Apple. This feels quite editorial as well. Oh, these look nice. So the good thing about this is we can start copying things. So instead of usually how we would start with this and stare at this empty canvas, we actually want to start putting in some of these. So I'm going for this sort of minimal style, but maybe not dark mode, right? So we have this, something like this. But obviously this is an animation. So what I can do is I can just take a screenshot, right? Can take a screenshot. This looks amazing as well. So again, I'm starting to take screenshots of things that I think would work best for me. I quite like the large images at the bottom, the carousels, sort of the carousel feel. But I'm not looking when I'm looking at this during this research phase. I'm not looking to copy the exact designs. I'm looking to understand. I'm trying to figure out how are these websites. What is the pattern that I'm picking up here? So I'm picking up the heading, the subheading, the two buttons, and some sort of visual. And usually the visual is either on the right or towards the bottom. So for ramp, I think we can just copy this. Very nice. So I'm looking at these sections and I'm trying to pick up what they, how they speak, what they do in terms of like design, the layouts. So for example, this website right here is amazing. This is a blogs page. So obviously they have resources and inspiration for ambitious builders, which is like the main heading. There's no subheading here. There's like a mini nav bar towards the top because it says blog. And then there are like 3 types of blogs. So obviously we wouldn't need this for our hero section. But I quite like the idea of having maybe 2 blogs in our hero section, which is something that's new. So you see how like we're breaking the sort of the mold whenever we can, and we're bringing in I've already copied this, some ideas here and there, and mixing all of this into something that works for us. So I quite like the editorial feel here, the minimalist style, the large headings, the subheadings, but there's something that I feel like is missing in some of these websites. And let's see if we continue exploring. Right away, I see like this, what is it called? The logos, right? So this is quite important, logos. So we need to add these logos here and there. I quite like these as well. Very, very minimal, large images. Fits the whole marketing business, fits the whole consulting business side of things. This also looks amazing. So this is what I'm trying to say is we're studying the pattern. We're not looking necessarily just at design. We're studying the pattern. We're seeing what works. For example, Notion, amazing. This is an amazing layout. We see heading, and then we have subheading, the CTAs, trust signal, and then like a video of some sort. And then your AI everything app, just more trust signals. So this is like a complete, Notion is one of the best companies, obviously, when it comes to design. So if they have something like this for their marketing website, then you know that this is a pattern that we need to follow, a pattern that works for them. And so we have here some more inspirations from Legora, quite like the aesthetic here. Large images, editorial feel. I think this has been duplicated. But basically, that's what we do. We try to find things or like images and inspiration that works for our use case. And usually I would, for something that's AI, we want to try to avoid going and searching for something like this, where it says technology, for example, styles, maybe not black and white, but like glass, maybe. And then we can have the dark feel. So obviously something that pops up is Framer. But I think this is a very good example. Let's visit this site. This is like the AI sort of feel with the tech feel, and this is good. And I think the dashboards, and this is like the SaaS style. And this is good if we are building for something like this. But even if we're building for something like this, sometimes it's even good to find inspiration for layouts that lives outside of this, of this zone, so that we can start, filling our brains with inspirations that don't look necessarily very typical to the rest of the industry. It's good to bring in some of these design, this design language into our final product, but it's always good to sort of see what other industries are doing. So if it's like, if we're building for a SaaS company, sometimes it's good to even look at like, let's even shopping, just look at how they're building different layouts. Maybe you can pick up the nav bar from here for the marketing SaaS website. So that's what I'm trying to say here is sometimes it's good to look at different websites and different niches to understand and see how other companies are doing their layouts, and you can start picking
from that for your specific project. So I think this is enough searching around. What I'm, obviously we can go ahead and design something from scratch, but I have designed something already here, and I'll go through my design process and my thought process and what really happened here, just so you can understand how all of this research and understanding the brief as much as we can led to this final design. So right away, some of the things that I liked from all of this research is sort of the white space, the minimalist feel, almost an editorial feel, but not really. So even Notion here, although it is a SaaS company, it feels very minimum. The white space is very, it's out there, it's clear. Even Ramp, something like Ramp, which is like a fintech, I'm guessing this is a fintech thing, finances, in this finance industry, they're using this bento grid. But I'm also liking the idea of trust signals, and I'm liking this blog post section. So, just a thought where I'm like, okay, so let's have the heading, let's have the subheading, and let's have these buttons down here. And have I seen anyone put these eyebrow texts? And the answer is yes. So I've taken this sort of style from down here. And the way that they have it here for Legora is quite different as well. But I've taken some bits from everywhere and created something for Apex. I like the thin sort of nav bar, but the problem was here there wasn't any. It looked too thin, and these looked like the opacities is too, it's too faded out, and this is not, and they don't have like a primary button here. So basically just taking things from here and there and making it fit what I need. So this is for the nav bar, for example. I like the plus instead of like the chevrons. So that's something that's new. Let's implement that and see how that looks like. Another thing that was super interesting is if we go ahead and actually like open up some of these websites. So let's go, for example, for Legora, right? Or let's go for this specific website. The good thing about this is that we can visit the page right away. So we're visiting the page. I can click on inspect and I can see the exact font size. And the good thing about this as well is I can even go and see how the font sizes changes across different, breakpoints. So it's a 40 pixels, and I think it was a 48 pixels to start with, right? So this gives me an idea of how big and small I want the text to be. Let's see, what did I do here? So here I had 64. I increased and I'm free to do so, but it just grounds me, it lets me know, all right, this is what's been used out there. 16 pixels for this, 48 pixels for this. Well, how does it look like if it's a little bit bigger? Maybe it fits my layout a little bit better here, so I'm free to do so. So back to this whole layout. As I mentioned, I like these layouts, but I also, for the trust signals, I haven't seen a lot of people putting in blogs or like links to blogs in the hero section. So why not try and do that for Apex, for this specific client? I'm adding in the preferred partner for AI strategy. I'm adding in the logos, and this is like good enough for Signal. And this could be, like a longer image, and that's it. But what if we add in more trust signals, like maybe a press release, the zero disruption roadmap, and then there's like an interview where you can watch this interview, or like a blog post, AI for real world workflows, and something that fits this whole general style. And what I'm, how AI fit here as well, which is, I think, important to speak about, is I've used Gemini to try and create, some certain images, and it didn't work out really well. So I went to the Gemini, to the actual studio, Gemini Studio, to create the AI studio to create things like this, where I was like, generate an image of a person working in an AI consulting firm, and I'm like, use realistic scenes and avoid the whole AI cliche feel, the look and feel of like high-end tech screens, and because it usually does something like this, and you want to avoid something that looks very weird. So it gave me something like this, and then I started like prompting it so that we can end up with something that is usable, and I think this worked really well. And then I'm like, let's make it into an interview, as if like there's an interview that's happening, and then we ended up with something like this, and then from that I'm like generate some generate a close-up photograph of a man holding an iPad, because I wanted to basically have that as like a blog post for like an AI workflow, or like some sort, bring in the sort of the tech field, because I don't want it to be very consulting, but also bring in, because at the end of the day they're AI consulting firms, so I need to bring in some of that tech in here. And the tech is like already visible from the text that we're using here, but it's just better to bring in more visual cues that, at the end of the day, this has something to do with technology. It's a tech company at the end of the day, not creating software, but helping you implement software. So basically these are the design decisions. There's also something else that I wanted to like bring to speak about. So I'm like, can you give me 2 short blog posts? And this is not something that was originally in the brief. And sometimes it is good to break the mold and give the client some options. So they might be like, we need trust signal, CTA, subheading, and headline. But you're like, okay, you'll be like, all right, I've done some research, and to increase trust, maybe what if we have like, you have this amazing press release, what if we have it here? This is going to, basically let the user, give the user more reasons to scroll. Like you're legit. There's this press release. There's this blog post. You're an industry leader here. So why not? And you can keep them in the website. So instead of like them bouncing off, maybe they were like, okay, this is interesting. Let me read more about this. So they're redirected inside of your page, and inside that blog post, you might link them to your specific service page. Or at the end of the blog post, there could be something that grabs their email. So you're generating these leads. So sometimes it's good to understand the brief, or most of the times it's good to understand the brief and break. Most of the times it's good to understand the brief, but sometimes it's good to actually break the rules and suggest it to the client. Maybe they like the idea. Maybe based on your research, something really interesting pops up, and you discuss that with the client, and they agree to it, and then you come up with something that's a bit different. So that's the whole general idea, is we don't want to follow these inspiration bits exactly. We're looking at things that work. We're looking at patterns that work, learning from them and implementing them for your own client with their own brand, with their own style. And then, so that you're not basically copying, and you're just using these references as a way to understand the framework that works for web design and development. All right, so let's talk about why this works. I like to have this bit at the end of my videos because I want to condense the 3 main reasons for why something works. And I think point number 1 is we're designing from data, not taste. We're leaving taste for the actual polishing, but we're actually designing from data, we're making decisions based on real information out there, real websites, on what actually converts, not what just looks cool, and that's it. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is faster first drafts. And we're not starting from zero or scratch anymore. That doesn't work. Or it does work, but it's very, very painful. So we're not starting from point zero. We're starting from something, from a structure that has been proven that it works, and we're using that and basing everything off of that. And point number 3 is better client results. So you're using patterns that actually work because they've been obviously tested and used by millions of users. So you're not really experimenting with your client's budget. You're building something that's been tested out, has been tried, has been working. I just want to add in a final thought about AI. So we can take this inspiration
that we've gathered. And what we can do is we can start feeding it to AI models so that based on this inspiration, it could mix and match things to come up with a new layout that you can then take and then start actually polishing it. AI is not going to be designing for you. It's just going to help you explore design directions a bit faster. And if you feed it good design, it's going to probably come up with an okay design that's just going to be a starting point for you to actually start working. But yeah, if this video helped, I hope you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And by the way, we have a premium community that's called Effecto Community. You can go right now into Effecto Design, click on join the community. Right now it's free. It's not going to be free forever, but yeah, I hope to see you in there. And if you, by the way, if you join using this premium link right now, you're going to have premium access for the rest of your life. So it's a lifetime access, and it's right now, again, for free. You can join, and it's not going to be free forever. So that's about Effecto Community. And by the way, this is what YouTube thinks you should watch next on my channel. Maybe it's interesting to you. If not, I'm going to see you on the next video.